With a philosophical framework in mind, which, by the way, my linear mind is completely comfortable with, that same linear mind demands how I make it happen. How do I teach these ideas to students? I start, of course, with the principles of how people learn, starting first with the student. I see 5 key aspects of learners that frame my thinking. First of all, students want to understand. In the past, and even today, students are afforded too few opportunities to understand or make sense of things because they've been too busy memorizing facts and spouting those facts back to teachers on some sort of test. This is not to say that facts are unimportant, but it is to say that facts become significant only when they're used for thinking and problem solving. Secondly, students bring to a learning experience prior knowledge and experience. Though these elements can sometimes seem quite limited and downright accurate, students will have some background, even if it's just about what they notice about their environment or how they organize and interpret new information. The background knowledge students bring to learning has everything to do with how they will acquire and remember new information. Thirdly, students want control over their learning. Despite this need, many learners have no idea how to go about monitoring their own learning. Students need time to reflect, and they need time to self-assess to determine what they need to do to improve. Next, students, despite what you might observe on the surface, want to be engaged. As great of a challenge as this is, students will learn when the teaching strategies appeal to them and connect with their needs and their pre-existing knowledge. Students can and will learn facts as well if they see that those facts can lead to greater understanding of a concept that they believe matters, if they can turn those facts into usable knowledge for their world. And lastly, technology appeals to students. It's their lifeblood in their personal and leisure lives. If learning then is delivered, enhanced, manipulated, processed, and assessed with technology tools in mind, there is no guarantee that students will learn. There's certainly a greater possibility that they will achieve the learning outcomes and do so using the tools they believe are the crux of their world. These concepts, distilled from our readings on how people learn, should provide the gateway for global learning. The vessel is open, like the bucket and the pitcher in the hands in this picture. Students are there ready to learn. There is already something in the vessel as well. It could be inaccurate or wrong, but it's not empty, since students bring some prior something to the classroom. We want their learning about global matters to be powerful, so what better way than to give them control over their learning? Besides, we are teaching them to think deeply about important stuff. It stands to reason they should have some say in the matter. And what could be more engaging than learning about the world around us, the conflicts of our day, the context of world events? It's here and it's now, and it shapes our lives daily. The relevancy is undeniable. And though resources can be limited, the world of technology will provide the most enriching of environments for students to learn and grow. And since our world changes so rapidly, technology may be the only tool which will give us the ability to teach our students in a global setting. It certainly seems to me to be the most appropriate tool to use in teaching global learning. Now what about the teacher? What does global learning demand of him or her? In short, the teacher has to be sure that students develop the thinking tools and learning strategies needed to acquire knowledge in a world overfilled with knowledge and information. In short, teachers have to stop fixating on just facts. As aforementioned from the student's perspective, information is not power in itself. Manipulating, interpreting, analyzing, and reframing information is power. In the world of global awareness, the facts are always changing anyway, so an effective teacher has to choose the facts that need to be learned because of their importance in understanding a conflict. It is, however, important that students be shown where and how to obtain any facts they may want to pursue, even if the information is not part of the lesson as a whole. To that end, teachers have to refocus their energies on teaching metacognition. Again, if students are to take control of their learning, they have to know how to monitor their own learning, their own ways of learning, and their mastery and understanding of learning. I just don't think these skills come natural to most students, and I know that transfer has no hope of occurring unless metacognition is taught. And it's not just students who must be taught to think about learning. Teachers have to self-reflect as well and think constantly about what is taught, how it's taught, and how it is assessed. It seems to me that this idea of global learning really requires some type of metacognition, just as we are all doing in preparing this particular assignment. In addition to synthesizing and analyzing, I've been thinking about my own learning for these past few weeks, teasing out the key concepts, wondering where I could go next, or even if I wanted to go anywhere next, and wondering just how my learning has impacted my worldview. Teachers must also frame learning around concepts or essential questions. Knowledge must be organized around big ideas that guide the work in the classroom. If employed, essential questions prevent the problem of students simply memorizing a set of facts and formulas that do not appear to be connected to anything that matters. It should be about conceptual understanding first. I think I may have personally demonstrated this idea with my opening comments to this video. I started by asking deep questions. What is global learning? How do the ideas of global awareness, pluralism, and cosmopolitanism affect global learning? Can I link these ideas into a logical framework? And lastly, teachers need to be experts. Sure, that includes knowing the content of a particular subject, but it's so much more than that. Teachers must recognize patterns, see context, know the pedagogy that applies to their learning environment, and above all, be flexible. More importantly, teachers have to recognize the limits of their current knowledge and take the steps as necessary to increase their knowledge. In short, teachers know what they don't know, and they do something about it. In that sense, they become adaptive experts who are able to approach new situations flexibly and learn throughout their lifetimes. At no point in my past few years as a learner have I felt the need to dig deeper and learn more than I have in this course. Again, as I stated at the beginning, I've been sifting through so many ideas, some of which have really challenged my thinking. I have been most frustrated by what I don't know than what I do know. I do hate that feeling, but I've worked through to attack that problem, and though I have a long way to go, I possess the will and the skill to learn and be the expert my students would ask me to be in my daily classroom. At the risk of sounding a little cheesy, I do want to throw in one more tangible idea that I think ties my philosophy together, and that's the idea of being a lifelong learner. I've actually grown weary of the phrase since it's been used so much, but I do believe the idea is vital. As I've worked on this project, working through my chaos and confusion, trying to clarify my sometimes superficial thinking, facing my ignorance, and working to defeat my frustrations over my work and my productivity, I've been constantly reminded that this is the process of learning, and this is what it means to be a lifelong learner. As much as this material on global learning has interested me, I've been equally upset at times that I just don't seem to grasp it. Synthesizing my philosophy has been an adventure in self-learning, and has finally brought me the focus I've been seeking on the subject of global learning for the past 3 weeks. Global learning is indeed a highly personal experience, I think. I see both the unity and disunity of global awareness, pluralism, and cosmopolitanism. I feel as strongly, if not stronger, than I've ever felt about the role of both the teacher and the student in the learning process as it relates in this case to global learning. And I ultimately believe that, as many of our writers have suggested, the future of our globe may well depend on how effectively we are able to come to an understanding of each other and our world.